Imagine you are standing on the edge of a vast, fog-covered canyon. You know there is a path leading to the other side, but every few steps you hear a faint, persistent whisper in the wind, telling you to stop, to turn back, or to watch your footing. Most people ignore the whisper, thinking it is just the breeze, until the ground begins to crumble beneath their boots. In the vast history of faith and the complex tapestry of the scriptures, there are whispers just like that. They aren't just suggestions or polite advice. They are heavy, ancient warnings that carry the weight of eternity. Some of these warnings are so intense, so controversial, or so direct that they feel almost banned from modern conversation. We live in a world that loves to talk about comfort, but today we are diving into the deep end. We are looking at every banned warning God gave to humanity, explaining exactly what they mean for your life, your spirit, and the future of the world. Stay with me, because some of these might change the way you look at the horizon forever. Let's start right at the beginning, in a place of perfect peace that carried a hidden, razor-sharp boundary, the Garden of Eden. We often hear about the fruit and the serpent, but the actual warning was the first legal boundary ever set for the human soul. God told Adam that he was free to eat from every tree, but one specific tree was off-limits. The warning wasn't just about a piece of fruit. It was a warning about the source of life versus the source of autonomy. The moment humanity decided to define good and evil for themselves, they stepped outside of the protective shadow of the Creator. This is the first banned warning, because modern society hates the idea of restricted knowledge. We want to know everything, see everything, and participate in everything. But the warning still stands. There are things that once tasted change the chemical makeup of your spirit in a way that creates a permanent longing for a home you can no longer easily find. It was a warning about the loss of innocence and the beginning of a long, dusty road toward redemption. Moving forward in the ancient narrative, we encounter a warning that sounds like something out of a massive survival film, but it was a literal turning point for the planet. Noah's era. People often focus on the ark and the animals, but the warning given to that generation was about the frequency of the heart. The scriptures tell us that every thought of the human heart was only focused on negativity and rebellion continually. God gave a warning through Noah for over a century while that massive wooden vessel was being built. It was a warning of the closing door. Imagine being a neighbor to Noah, watching him work on a ship in the middle of dry land, listening to him talk about a coming change in the atmosphere. The warning was simple. This season is ending. The opportunity to step inside the protection is a limited-time offer. We don't like to talk about the closing door today because we want to believe that time is infinite and that we can always make the right choice tomorrow. But the warning of the flood tells us that there is a point where the patience of the heavens meets the reality of consequences. When the door shut, it wasn't God being unkind. It was the fulfillment of a long-ignored alarm. Then we reach the era of the giants and the cities of the plain, like Sodom. The warning there wasn't just about specific behaviors, as many people argue today. It was a warning about the loss of hospitality and the total corruption of social justice. The people had become so focused on their own desires that they had lost their humanity toward others. The warning sent via the messengers was clear. When a society stops looking upward and starts only looking inward, it begins to rot from the inside out. This warning is often banned or edited in modern sermons because it feels too judgmental, but at its core, it's a warning about the safety of the vulnerable. When the outcries of the oppressed reach a certain volume, the response is inevitable. It's a warning to every civilization that thinks it is too big or too wealthy to fail. We cannot talk about warnings without looking at the Ten Commandments, but specifically the one about the name. We often think taking the name in vain just means using it as a swear word during a moment of frustration, but the ancient warning was much deeper. It was a warning against carrying the name for selfish gain. It was a warning to those who claim to represent the Creator but act in a way that contradicts His nature. This is a banned warning for many high-profile leaders today, because it calls out hypocrisy at its root. If you put on the jersey of the team but play for the opponent, you are violating this warning. It's a warning about the weight of identity. You cannot claim the light while walking intentionally in the shadows. The consequences aren't just a slap on the wrist. It's a loss of credibility in the spiritual realm that echoes for generations. Let's talk about the warning of the Sabbath. In our 24/7 hustle culture world, the idea that God commanded rest as a warning is revolutionary. It was a warning against the machine. God was telling his people that if they didn't stop, they would forget they were human beings and start believing they were just tools for production. It was a warning that work can become an idol. If you cannot stop for 24 hours to acknowledge that the world keeps spinning without your effort, you are living under the illusion that you are the sustainer. This is a banned warning in our modern economy because everything is designed to keep us clicking, scrolling, and producing. But the warning remains. Burnout isn't just a physical state. It's a spiritual crisis that happens when we ignore the rhythm that was built into our very DNA during the week of creation. As we move into the period of the kings, we see a recurring warning about foreign alliances. To the modern ear, this sounds like isolationism, but the spiritual warning was about the dilution of truth. God told the leaders of Israel not to rely on the chariots of Egypt or the gold of distant lands. Why? Because you eventually become a slave to what you rely on. It was a warning about spiritual compromise. If you borrow their strength, you have to adopt their idols. This is a banned warning for many people who try to mix every philosophy and every belief into one giant pot. The warning is that you cannot have a divided heart and still have a focused life. You will end up being pulled apart by competing loyalties. Then come the prophets. Men like Jeremiah and Ezekiel were essentially talking warning signs. One of the most intense warnings they gave was about the hearts of stone. They warned that there is a condition where a person can hear the truth so many times without acting on it that their heart literally petrifies. It becomes unresponsive. This is a banned warning because it suggests that we can lose our ability to choose correctly if we wait too long. It's a warning about the hardening effect of procrastination. Every time you say "not now" to a nudge of the spirit, the stone gets a little thicker. The prophets warned that a day was coming when people would look for the truth and wouldn't be able to find it, not because it was gone, but because their eyes could no longer perceive it. In the New Testament, the warnings take on a different, more internal tone. Consider the warning of the leaven of the Pharisees. We often view religious people as the good guys, but some of the most severe warnings in the entire scriptures were directed at the religious elite. It was a warning against performative faith. It was a warning that the most dangerous darkness isn't found in the bars or the streets, but in the pews where people use the language of the heavens to hide the intentions of the earth. This is a banned warning in many circles because it forces us to look in the mirror. It asks us if our prayer is a conversation or a performance. The warning is that leaven, even a tiny amount, eventually puffs up the whole loaf. Pride, hidden under a cloak of holiness, is the most difficult infection to cure. We also have the warning of the narrow gate. This is perhaps one of the most unpopular warnings in modern culture. We want to believe that all paths are the same and every road leads to the same glowing finish line. But the warning given was that the gate is narrow and the way is difficult. It was a warning about the cost of discipleship. It warned that following the truth would make you a stranger in your own land. This warning is often censored because it doesn't sell tickets or pack stadiums. It's a warning that truth isn't a popularity contest. It's a path that requires leaving baggage at the door. If your life looks exactly like the rest of the world's, the warning suggests you might be standing in the wrong line at the wide gate. Then there is the warning of the unforgivable sin. This one has kept people awake at night for centuries. Many think it's a specific word or a single mistake, but when you look at the context, it's a warning about the total rejection of the light. It's the final warning. When a person reaches a point where they call the good evil and the evil good with full knowledge of what they are doing, they are effectively locking the door from the inside. It's a warning that the spirit of grace can be insulted to the point of silence. This is a banned warning because it sets a limit on human rebellion. It reminds us that while mercy is wide, truth is firm. You cannot mock the light forever and expect to still be able to see clearly. Let's move to the warning about mammon, or the love of money. We often think this is just a warning to billionaires, but it's a warning for everyone. It was a warning that the pursuit of security through material things is a trap. The warning was that you cannot serve two masters. Note that it didn't say it's hard to serve two masters, it said it is impossible. This is a banned warning in our consumerist society because our entire way of life is built on the idea that more is better. But the warning says that the more you possess, the more you are possessed by those things. Your anxiety level is often directly tied to how much you are trying to protect through your own power rather than trusting in the provider. The warning of the lampstand. In the final book of the Scriptures, there are 7 letters to 7 churches, and one of the recurring warnings is that a lampstand can be removed. A lampstand represents the presence and the authority of the Spirit in a community. The warning was to churches that had become wealthy, comfortable, and lukewarm. It was a warning that you can have the building, the music, and the programs, but if you lose the core intention, the light will be snuffed out. This is a banned warning for modern denominations because it reminds us that no organization is too big to fail spiritually. History is littered with the ruins of institutions that thought they were indispensable, but forgot their first love. Another heavy warning is about deception in the last days. We are warned that the deception will be so clever that, if possible, even the most faithful would be fooled. It's a warning about the angel of light phenomenon. Evil doesn't always show up looking like a monster. Most of the time, it shows up looking like a solution. It looks like progress. It looks like tolerance. And it looks like a shortcut to happiness. This is a banned warning because it makes us suspicious of flashy trends and charismatic leaders who tell us exactly what our itching ears want to hear. It's a warning to stay grounded in the ancient foundations because the latest thing is often the bait for the oldest trap. We also have the warning of the blood on your hands. This was a specific warning given to the watchman. If a watchman sees the danger coming and doesn't blow the trumpet, the consequences of the people's lack of preparation fall on the watchman's head. This is a banned warning for every believer who wants to just live and let live without ever standing up for the truth. It's a warning that silence can be a form of betrayal. Being kind doesn't mean being quiet about a cliff that people are about to walk over. True love warns. False love stays silent so it doesn't get uncomfortable. Let's look at the warning of the seed on the path. It's a warning about the environment of your life. It warns that if your heart is like a busy road, trampled by the constant traffic of the world and the opinions of others, the truth will never take root. The birds will take it away before it even has a chance. This is a banned warning in the age of social media where we are constantly inviting the traffic of a billion voices into our minds every morning. It's a warning that clarity requires solitude. It requires a fenced-in heart where the truth can actually grow without being stepped on by the latest viral outrage. The warning of Lot's wife. It's one of the shortest and most haunting warnings in the text. Remember Lot's wife. It's a warning against looking back at what you were told to leave behind. It's a warning about the lingering affection for a destructive past. When you are being led out of a situation that is falling apart, the warning is to keep your eyes on the forward horizon. This is a banned warning for those who want to carry the fire while still keeping a summer home in the valley of corruption. You cannot move toward your destiny while your heart is still anchored to your history. Then there is the warning about idle words. We are warned that every careless word spoken will have to be accounted for. In a world of podcasts, comment sections, and 24-hour news cycles, this warning is terrifying. It's a warning about the power of the tongue. It warns that our words are like seeds that create a harvest of either life or confusion. This is a banned warning because we want the freedom to say whatever we feel in the moment without considering the long-term impact on the atmosphere. But the warning says your words are the evidence of your internal alignment. The warning to the rich farmer who built bigger barns. It was a warning about the one more thing syndrome. He thought that once he had enough grain, he could finally relax and enjoy his life. But that very night, his soul was required of him. It's a warning that life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. It's a warning against the security mirage. This is a banned warning in the financial world because it suggests that your savings account is not your savior. It's a warning to be rich toward the unseen world rather than just stacking up things in the seen world. Let's talk about the warning of tearing down the landmarks. Ancient warnings told the people not to move the boundary stones that their ancestors had set. It was a warning against discarding tradition just because it feels old. It was a warning that those stones were put there for a reason, usually to keep you from falling into a pit or to keep peace with your neighbor. This is a banned warning in a progressive era that thinks everything old is bad and everything new is good. The warning suggests that before you tear down a fence, you should find out why it was built in the first place. You might find that the fence was the only thing keeping the wolves out. The warning of the empty house. This is a profound psychological and spiritual warning. It says that if you clean out a negative habit or a dark influence but don't fill that space with something positive and holy, 7 worse things will move in. It's a warning against neutrality. You cannot be empty. You will either be filled with the spirit of the Maker, or you will be occupied by the spirits of the world. This is a banned warning for the self-help industry that thinks you can just manifest away the bad without needing a structural foundation of truth. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the spiritual realm. If you don't invite the light to live in the house, the shadows will return with reinforcements. There is also the warning of the salt that loses its savor. Salt is a preservative and a seasoning. The warning was that if the people of faith become just like the world, they are good for nothing but to be thrown out and walked upon. It's a warning against cultural assimilation. This is a banned warning for many who want to make faith cool and trendy. The warning says that if you lose your distinctiveness, you lose your purpose. If the salt tastes like the meat, it's no longer salt. We are called to be the difference makers, not the crowd pleasers. The warning of the wormwood. In the visions of the future, there is a warning of an influence that turns the waters bitter. It's a warning about the bitterness of the soul that can poison an entire community. Hebrews warns that a root of bitterness can spring up and defile many. This is a banned warning because we live in a culture of grievance. We are told to nurture our bitterness and use it as a weapon. But the warning says that bitterness is a poison you drink yourself, hoping someone else will get sick. It warns that a bitter spirit loses the ability to perceive the sweetness of grace. We must also mention the warning of the false balance. Ancient proverbs warn that God detests dishonest scales. This was a warning about integrity in the marketplace. It was a warning that you cannot separate your spiritual life from your business life. How you treat people when money is on the line is the true test of your character. This is a banned warning in the boardroom because it demands absolute honesty even when it costs you a profit. The warning is that wealth gained through deception has a timer on it. It will eventually turn to gravel in your mouth. The warning of the cries of the harvesters. There is a heavy warning to those who withhold wages or exploit workers. It says that the cries of those who were cheated have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. It's a warning that economic injustice is a spiritual priority. This is a banned warning for those who think the scriptures only care about what happens inside a church building. The warning is that the Maker is the defender of the poor, and anyone who steps on the poor to get higher is actually stepping on a landmine that will detest their future. Then we have the warning of do not give what is holy to the dogs. This sounds harsh, but it's a warning about discernment. It's a warning not to waste your deep, spiritual pearls on people who only want to trample them and then turn to tear you apart. It's a warning about the stewardship of truth. You are not required to argue with everyone on the internet. You are not required to cast your life's work before those who have no intention of respecting it. This is a banned warning because we are told to be open to everyone, but the warning says some people are committed to being closed, and your energy is better spent elsewhere. The warning of the 10 virgins. Half were prepared with oil, and half were not. When the moment of truth came, the half who were prepared couldn't share their oil. It's a warning about personal responsibility. You cannot live on your parents' faith. You cannot hide behind your spouse's prayer life. You must have your own oil in your own lamp. This is a banned warning because it destroys the idea of collective safety. It tells us that in the middle of the night, when the cry goes out, you will stand on your own 2 feet based on the preparation you did in the quiet hours of the day. Look at the warning of the fig tree with no fruit. It had all the leaves. It looked healthy from a distance. But when the master came closer, there was nothing to eat. He cursed it and it withered. This is a warning against appearance without substance. It's a warning about the Instagram faith, where the outside looks perfect, but there is no actual fruit of the Spirit, no patience, no kindness, no self-control on the inside. This is a banned warning because it demands that we be productive in our character, not just busy in our activities. The warning of the 2 foundations. One man built on the sand, one on the rock. The storm hit both houses. Note that the storm didn't just target the bad guy. The warning is that the weather of life is coming for everyone. The only thing that determines who is still standing when the sun comes up is the part of the house you can't see the foundation. This is a banned warning because it reminds us that prosperity is not a sign of safety. You can have a beautiful house on the sand for 20 years, but the warning says the sand is only waiting for the right tide. We also have the warning about the desolation of abomination. This is a complex prophetic warning, but at its heart, it's a warning about the highest level of betrayal. It's about something profane standing in a place that is supposed to be holy. It's a warning that the greatest danger to your spirit is not something outside, but something inside your sacred space that shouldn't be there. This is a banned warning because it asks us to audit our own temples. What have we allowed to sit on the throne of our hearts while we claim to be holy? The warning to the shepherd who scatters the sheep. There is a specific, intense warning for leaders who use their flock for their own gain or who lead them into dangerous territory. The warning says, "Woe to the shepherds." This is a banned warning in the world of celebrity preachers because it reminds us that the higher you are in leadership, the more severe the judgment. It's a warning that the Creator takes the care of his little ones very seriously. If you cause a seeker to stumble because of your greed or your ego, the warning says it would be better for you to have a millstone tied around your neck. The warning of the 7 sleepers or those who fall asleep in Gethsemane. It's a warning against spiritual apathy during a crisis. While the world is in a tug-of-war for the souls of people, many are sleeping because they are overwhelmed or bored. The warning is to watch and pray so that you don't enter into the trap. This is a banned warning because it suggests that our current comfort is a distraction from a much larger conflict. It's an alarm clock for the soul. Lastly, we have the warning of the Great White Throne. This is the ultimate banned warning. It's the warning that history has a conclusion. It's the warning that the books will be opened and everything done in secret will be brought into the light. This is a banned warning because modern humanity wants to believe there is no final accountability. We want to believe that we can write our own rules and then exit the stage without a review. But the warning says that the universe is just. A just universe requires a day where every wrong is addressed and every truth is revealed. As you look at these warnings, don't see them as threats. See them as the rumble strips on the side of the highway. They are there to keep you from driving off the cliff. They are there because the creator of the road knows where the curves are and where the bridge is out. Ignorance isn't bliss when it comes to the laws of the spirit. Understanding these banned warnings is the first step toward a life that isn't just surviving, but thriving in the safety of the truth. The world will tell you to ignore the warnings, to live for the moment, and to trust your own truth. But the ancient whispers we've discussed today suggest that there is a much higher reality, a reality that was here before we were born and will be here after we are gone. By paying attention to these alarms, you aren't being restricted, you are being protected. You are finding the path across that fog-covered canyon, guided by the one who built the path in the first place. Take a moment today to consider your own gate. Are you on the narrow path? Is your house on the rock? Is your lamp filled with oil? These aren't just religious questions. They are the most practical questions you will ever ask yourself. The warnings were given in love so that you wouldn't be caught by surprise when the seasons change. As the noise of the world gets louder, these ancient warnings become even more crucial. They are the compass in the storm. They are the light in the dark. Don't let them be banned from your heart. Let them be the foundation of your wisdom and the source of your peace, knowing that you are walking in line with the laws of eternity. Staying alert isn't about being afraid. It's about being ready, and in this journey called life, being ready is the only way to truly be free. Remember, the goal of a warning is always to prevent a disaster. If you hear the siren and you move to safety, the siren has done its job. God's warnings are invitations to safety, reminders of His care, and proof that your life matters enough to be guided. Don't ignore the rumble strips. Stay on the road, keep your eyes on the light, and walk with the confidence that comes from knowing the way. Stay strong in your faith. Keep searching for the truth, and we will talk again soon about the deep things of the heart and the spirit. Be blessed and stay watchful.